I've interviewed him. He's one of my first interviews I did back in 2010. He talks about how if you do not know the names that your people have had throughout history, you will not know how to find yourself in history. You're looking for black or Negro and don't know Phoenicians were African people. You're looking for black and Negro or colored and don't know Carthaginians were African people. Okay, you don't know that Brazil is 52% African or mulatto. The population of Brazil, Brazil has the largest population of people of African descent outside the continent of Africa. They have over 100 million people of African descent in Brazil. But when you look at the Travel Channel, the History Channel, travel brochures, they show you the descendants of the Portuguese to hide this from you. Right. Because if you saw African people there, and then if you actually learn that African people were the first people in South America going back 56,000 years ago, then all this would totally start to dispel and destroy European white supremacy. Okay? Because European white supremacy is based upon a myth. And the only way it really has the most power is if you actually believe it. Right. Okay? If you don't believe it, okay, before we wrap up, I want to make sure I get through this, okay? But how are we doing on time? Where's David? Because before we go, let me be sure to remind me to explain to you how European white supremacy is like the Wizard of Oz. Okay? All right.
You control the time, brother.
All right, now. Kwanzaa is an expression of recovery and reconstruction of African culture. This is a process that was taking place in various degrees during the Black Liberation Movement, Black Freedom Movements of the 1960s, with groups like the organization US, which was co-founded by Dr. Maulana Karenga. Now, number two, we're dealing with three main reasons why Kwanzaa was created. So number one, we have to reaffirm and restore rootedness in African culture. Number two, Kwanzaa was created to serve as a regular communal celebration to reaffirm and reinforce the bonds between us as a people, okay, between African people. So it reconnects us to the community, and this is why it's also good to go to community celebrations of Kwanzaa. At the Charles H. Wright Museum, you can check their website, because the Shrine of the Black Madonna, they usually have a really good celebration. I'm speaking a bunch of them. So let's see, the 27th, Malcolm X Grassroots movement, they're doing one that is at the 5E Gallery. I'm speaking there. And then just go to my website, because I'm going to have them listed, because I'm speaking at a few different ones. I can't remember all of them now. But it's good to go to a community Kwanzaa event, because then you get the input of a lot of people. You feel the energy of the people. You feel the bonding of the people as well in the community. All right, now, Kwanzaa was designed to be an in-gathering, which means a coming together, to strengthen community and reaffirm community identity, purpose, and direction as a people and a world community, all right? Very important, to reaffirm common identity, who we are, okay? Some people are confused about who we are. Suge Knight just said he'd rather be called an N-word than African American. See, it's people like that maybe wish birth control was retroactive.
No,
okay, but Suge Knight, who has access to the media, okay, who influences, whose music has influenced. You know, Suge Knight helped expose Tupac. People already knew Tupac before Suge Knight, but he helped expose Dr. Dre and Snoop Dogg, things like this. And this Negro says something like that. All right?
Work for the FBI.
Makes me think they got the wrong person when Tupac died.
You work for the FBI.
All right. Yeah, I wouldn't doubt that. Okay. Now, okay, let's continue. Number three, three main reasons why Kwanzaa was created. Kwanzaa was created to introduce and reinforce the Nguzo Saba, which means the 7 principles, okay? These are 7 African communitarian principles. Now, the 7 principles are number 1, umoja, which means unity, okay? And these are Kiswahili terms. Umoja, which means unity. Kujichagulia, which means self-determination. Can you say Kujichagulia? Kujichagulia. Okay, so it means self-determination. Ujima, which means collective work and responsibility. Okay, can you say Ujima? Ujima. All right, now a lot of people are familiar with Ujima because the episode of Sanford and Son entitled Lamont Goes African, he told Fred, he said, we're going to have some Ujima in this house. And Fred said to Bubba, he said, Bubba, you ever heard of Ujima? And Bubba said, I heard of Big Jima, but I never heard of Ujima. So we've all heard of Ujima before. We just didn't know, okay? All right, now, number 4 is Ujamaa. Ujamaa means cooperative economics. Can you say Ujamaa? Ujamaa. All right. And number 5 is Nia, which means purpose. Nia. Number 6 is Koumba. Can you say Koumba? Kuumba means creativity. And number 7 is Imani, which means faith. So you say Imani. We all know Imani because we probably all know somebody named Imani. All right, now when we break down the principles, Umoja, which means unity, it means to strive for and maintain unity in the family, community, nation, and race. Okay? And a lot of people want to convince us we're in post-racial America. No, we aren't. Okay, just so people understand. Kujichagali is self-determination, means to define ourselves, name ourselves, create for ourselves, and speak for ourselves. This doesn't mean the chosen leaders chosen by other people who are trying to suppress you. This means leaders coming from the community who are accountable to you, and African people being able to speak for themselves. But to speak for ourselves, we have to have our own media. This is why the Empowerment Network is so important. This is why Radio 1 is so important. My network, the African History Network on Blog Talk Radio. This is why it's so important, because if you can't communicate to your people, then you are at a real disadvantage. Okay? Ujima, cooperative economics, means to build and maintain our own stores, shops, and businesses, and to profit from them together. Okay? Nia, purpose, means to make our collective vocation the building and developing of our community in order to restore our people to their traditional greatness. Okay? One of the things, I started studying back at Wayne State over 20 years ago now, probably about 22 years ago. I started about 1992 when Malcolm X movie came out. The movie changed my life, and I read the autobiography of Malcolm X. I call that book The Black Man's Eyeglasses, because it'll help you see things more clearly. That is a powerful book. How many people have read the autobiography of Malcolm X? That's a powerful book. Another important book I encourage people to read is by James H. Cone. It's called Martin Malcolm in America, A Dream or a Nightmare. Okay? In this book, he deals with passages and excerpts from their speeches, and he shows how at the end of both their lives, their ideologies were converging, and they were starting to think alike. Okay, so this was like really powerful. Okay, now we have let's see, Kuumba, creativity, to do always as much as we can in the way we can in order to leave our community more beautiful and beneficial than we inherited it. All right. And when we go back to create this Nia, purpose, talking about traditional greatness, one of the things I was trying to find out is how do we go from pyramids to projects? How do we go from ruling the world to being under the foot of people who learn from us? And when you actually study, the missing link that I found, I read Black Man of the Nile and His Family by Dr. Yosef Ben Yakinen, one of our great early pioneers in the study of African history, and probably one of the first archaeologists or Egyptologists of African descent. He's an Egyptologist. When you study the history of the Moors, these black African people called Moors, and anytime somebody tries to tell me, well, the Moors were white, you all are lying, I ask them to please go study the etymological derivation of the word Moor. And usually I don't hear back from them because it's dealing with us, the majority of it. But the Moors going into Europe and saving Europe, because when they go in, about 90% of Europeans are illiterate. Okay, you had kings and queens who couldn't read and write. They don't have a sanitation system. They aren't taking baths, things like this. They've lost the concept of longitude or latitude. The Moors introduced all this to them. They introduced technology, science, mathematics. And it was these Africans known as Moors who actually saved Europe. If it had not been for the Moors, the bubonic plague that hit in 1347 and then spurts up until 1400, which wiped out somewhere between 25 to 75 million Europeans, it would have wiped them all out if it hadn't been for what the Moors introduced to them. So personally, I wish we never taught them, but that's me understanding history, okay? And what happened when the Moors started to be enslaved and killed off. But just understand the person. I just wish we never taught them. There's nothing personal. It's just understanding history. Then we have Kuumba, creativity. No, I just did that. Imani, faith, to believe with all our heart in our people, our parents and teachers, our leaders, and the righteousness and the victory of our struggle. Okay, so those are the Nguzo Saba and what they mean. We have the names and what they mean in English and Kiswahili. All right, now, the Nguzo Saba, or 7 principles, focus on the importance of African communitarian values in general, which stress family, community, and culture, and speak to the best of what it means to be African and the first people